Okay, in this video I'm going to be talking about counterfeits, proxies, and how I'm not really worried about it. Part of this is sparked by, I saw a Rudy video. I didn't look at the video, I just saw the tagline, where somebody had a bunch of dual lands and they were worried about whether or not they're fakes. So with that, I have a stack of counterfeit cards. Yeah, it's a big stack because there's a period of time where I was wanting to build a lot of decks, didn't have a lot of money, so the Chinese counterfeits stepped in. Also, my commander group at the time, we had a liberal policy of allowing counterfeits, although one of the players abused it. He showed up and he had proxied some basic lands and freely available cards that were 100 crowns or less, $5 US or less. And we just looked at him and said, "Are you serious? The shop has a lot of these. You're just too lazy to go down to the shop and pick them up?" Yes, he was too lazy to go down to the shop and pick them up. He'd rather just print them off on the workplace printer, office printer, cut them out, and slap them onto real cards. So, fair enough. But I like cards that at least look authentic. So let's look at a few counterfeits, and I'll tell you how to realize that the counterfeit. Typically, the back always gives it away. The Chinese do not get the backs right. I don't know if it's because they don't care or whatever they're doing, they're making enough business so it doesn't matter. But anyway, so this is an authentic noble hierarch. And if you put the backs together, you can see the coloration is all wrong. Now, coloration is not the end-all be-all, because over the years there have been a lot of color variations in the backs of the cards. But this blue is just wrong. As far as I've seen, there are no Magic cards that have this shade of blue in the Magic and Deck Master logos. The gathering is not sharp. It's not clean, as opposed to the authentic card. And it has hashing. It has defects and artifacts, in the brown especially. I'm not sure if you can see that well, but the authentic card has a different shade of brown. The coloration is more mottled, and the mottlation is very distinct, very easy to see. And that's what I've seen in all cards. For example, here we have an authentic Serra Sanctum. And even though it's an older card, you can see the same thing. The models in the card are very distinct. Also, for older cards, another giveaway is there will be no playware. Now, there are numerous cards. Fair enough. There are BSG 9, BSG 10 cards. But you can see this Sanctum is EX at best. There is a lot of wear on the card. The back especially. This corner, one can see play wear. And also it's signed. I have never seen a signed fake anywhere. So that's another potential giveaway. I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's highly unlikely. Now, Cirillo is one of those artists that he only did one card, as far as I know. His signature is a bit rare. So if you see a signed Serra Sanctum, for example, because I'm holding one in front of you, it's probably authentic. So let's look at some of the other cards. So this Arid Mesa, it looks pretty good. Feels like an authentic Magic card. The coloration is pretty much spot on. The text is crisp and clear, correct font. But the back proves it's not an authentic card. So we have this Bayou, and as you can see, it's soft. The colors are not distinct. The card is not sharp. There is some play wear because I've been playing it, but it's obvious again from the back, and this back is terrible. Even compared to this counterfeit, it's obvious the back of this card is not authentic. Diamond Valley, again, it looks pretty good. But if you've seen authentic Diamond Valleys, you'll know that the coloration is off. It's got a bit too much yellow in it. And again, the back. It's terrible. Flooded Strand. There are a lot of artifact in the art. It's not crisp, it's not sharp, it's not clear. Authentic Magic cards are always crisply printed, barring Wizard's defects, which usually are an offset or a miscut, or in the case of, I forget what it was, they actually had cards with a magic front and a wyvern back. But this one, and again, if you look at the back, it's not authentic. These look pretty good. The Marsh Flats, they look crisp and clean from the front. They could easily pass in a tournament for authentic cards. But if you flip them over, again, the backs give it away. Misa's Workshop. The back is terrible, of course, and the front of the card is just wrong. It's not distinct enough. It's been a while since I've held the real Misa's Workshop. It's been about, oh, bloody hell, about 10 years. But even 10 years later, I can recognize that this is not an authentic card. I got this to put into my Shroom, the Hegemon EDH deck. And one of the reasons I took it out is as I started to earn more money, as my job situation improved, I started deproxifying a lot of my decks. I do not have an authentic Misa's Workshop, but I took it out of the deck anyway because as part of that, I want crisp, clean art. I want something that looks like the authentic art. Now, if this looked authentic from the front and the back was terrible, I would still have it in the deck because, as I said, my EDH group is pretty liberal on proxies. But as it is, I took it out. I forget what I replaced it with, but it's no longer in the deck. Another giveaway are strange artifacts on the card. So here, on this misty rainforest, one can see this black discoloration. Real Misties do not have that. Plateau, again, the back is terrible. Polluted Delta, it's too soft. The colors are a bit too washed out. It looks almost black and white. A real Polluted Delta from Onslaught has a bit more coloration. Rashad and Port, this is just obviously wrong. It's just too orange. The reason I have this is because I love the art. I've always loved the art for Rashad and Port. When I sold out a few years ago, this is one of the cards I kind of wish I'd kept, but I did not. And recently I was able to acquire an actual one from a friend of mine selling out. And this one, the back looks pretty good on first glance, but the Magic the Gathering and Deckmaster logos are not sharp enough. They have too much artifact, too much discoloration. So I think you're getting the idea. Let's take a look at some counterfeits and the real card next to them. So here we have the counterfeit Sanctum and the real Sanctum. And right off, we can see that the coloration is just slightly wrong. The yellow is a bit faded and the counterfeit Sanctum, it doesn't look as sharp. If you look at the tower especially, it's a bit lighter. So this one is very, very close. But then we flip them over. And the back is horrible. The back is washed out. I don't know why they can't get this right. I don't know why they don't want to get this right. But since they're not, it makes it easier on everybody to determine if a card is authentic or not. Again, this is the authentic one. A lot of playware. The brown is deep brown mottled. The magic looks like stone. This looks washed out. It looks faded. It looks like it's been in the sun too long. So we'll set that aside. So again, the authentic card. Put that up there. Let's look at a hierarchy. Well, here we go. This is another one. This looks really close. I do own a authentic Tellurian Academy. Bought it recently, of course, after the price jump. But this I have just for the art. I can't play it anywhere. My 4 vintage decks that do use a lot of power, counterfeit power, of course, because of the cost of supporting 4 vintage decks, 3 of them using power. I have Blue-Red Sprite Dragon. I have Jund. I have Manaless Dredge. And Blue-White Stoneblade. So, of the 3, I could put this in Stoneblade or Sprite Dragon, but I don't have enough artifacts to support it. I cannot play an EDH. I don't have any other decks for it, so again, my real Tellurian Academy is just for the art. And once more, we flip it over, and the back is terrible. It just does not look authentic. Let's look at some really egregious examples. So these look pretty good on the surface, but it's hard to describe. The text box is a bit faded. It's not as distinct as an actual Verdant Catacombs. The art is a little more indistinct. The coloration is not as rich as it should be. So that's how I know that these are counterfeit. Here's a good example. This one, so this is a bit darker. This one is a lot softer, a lot more washed out. Wooded Foothills. Umazawajide. This is just terrible. There's just far too much blue across the entire card. And again, I don't know how they print these. I don't know why they can't get them right. My assumption is they don't care because they're selling them, obviously because I have a handful. So they're not worried about it. Mana Crypt looks pretty good, but it's a bit soft. Again, you'll hear me say that a lot. The artwork looks soft, not as sharp, not as distinct. The back is pretty close, but the modellation is just washed out. There is no modellation on the card. More Mana Crypts. And again, the reason I have so many in this stack is because all these used to be in decks, but I took them out. I do have one authentic Mana Crypt, which is severely water damaged, but it's signed, and it's in one piece. So I keep it, and it's in Jora. Here's an example of the foil cards they do. And it's just a layer of foiling. It's like the American style, what were these called again? Inventions. Same with Meekstone. Now here we're getting into power. So this is just too faded. It looks pretty good. Doesn't look that bad. This is just horrible. Oh my god. It looks like a 5-year-old turned up the gain on the saturation. Mox Pearl, just too washed out. Not sharp enough. Mox Ruby. Again, it looks like the saturation controls are just played with. Mox Sapphire looks pretty good overall. And the back looks pretty good overall. But it's not authentic. It's not sharp enough. It's not clean enough. Lily under the veil, too much yellow. Lily under the veil foil. Again, the foiling process is wrong. The back is terrible. Dark Confidant. These look pretty good. But the saturation in the creature line and the type line is off. The text box is not as sharp as it should be. Bitter Blossom, it's like there's a layer of black that went over it. Like it was printed with some kind of sheer layer. Beta Demonic Tutor, terrible. Back isn't too bad, front isn't too bad, but it's missing the richness of an authentic Beta Demonic Tutor. Some sinkholes, Vampiric Tutor. This is just indistinct. It's not, again, you'll hear me repeat myself because they have pretty much the same printing errors in all the cards. So it's not sharp enough. Jace, too much yellow. Ancestral Recall, again, far too much saturation. It should not be this light blue. And the back isn't too bad, but again, the brown oval gives it away. Forces of Wills, which are too dark. Mana Drain, which is too light and washed out. So one of the important things to do when looking at cards, judging cards, knowing if they're counterfeit or not, is to know the art. Know how they should be printed. Know what an authentic copy should look like. That's not always possible, especially if you're getting the art cards in the post. But you can check them out later. Time Spiral. Excuse me. Another terrible Time Walk. Again, the saturation is just way too high. Just far too... How do I describe it? Far too deep a blue. And the skeletons, they shouldn't have that rich a red. Time Twister, it is not a clear printing. The art is not sharp as it should be. Noble Hierarch, this is why I had the actual one here. So you can see it's just too dark. The authentic Hierarch, the Hierarch herself is lighter. There's more sun on her face. It's more sharp, clear, distinct. This one, it's darker and there's more green in it. More green in the printing. One can see this in the text boxes. For example, where it says Noble Hierarch. It looks like my camera is going to cut out. So it gives me a warning. So let me pause there.